What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Paranormal Rush Hour. I'm your host, Ryan Rush. And today I want to talk to you guys about something that really is just a weird thing that appeared on this planet. And nobody knows where it went. That's the bad thing about this. See, it was something that a normal person found, and they decided, well, you can't play with this. Only we can play with this. And so they came and got it. I'm pretty sure that's what happened to it. Anyway, now I want to tell you guys about something that happened. This is really crazy. The other night, this is probably, I don't know, about a week and a half ago or so. Something like that. Anyway, I was standing at work and I was outside and I looked up at the sky and I was like, you know what? I'm going to try and summon a UFO, have me a C5 encounter. Or I don't know. I was just going to try it. I was going to go out. I started just actively, consciously thinking about it, Like if you're out there, show up, let me see you. And sure enough, something appeared. It was like a star. It's the way it looked. I mean, it looked just like a star. Like appeared, moved, and disappeared. It was the craziest thing. It happened like 30 seconds or so after I had actually looked up and consciously thought about it. Like if you're out there, show me where you are. And I saw that. And I was like, whoa, it was not a shooting star. It was going too slow to be a shooting star. It wasn't a fast moving kind of thing either. It's like it appeared, moved, and disappeared, just like that. And it didn't move that far. I mean, the way it looked, from my perspective, is it moved, like that, like a few inches or something. It wasn't like streaking across the sky or anything like that. This was strange. I don't know what to make of it. I mean, I think that was a UFO. Like, I don't see any other way to explain that. I mean, I can't identify it. So, anyway. You guys will have to excuse me. I sound a little more nasal to myself anyway. Allergies and stuff, man. Pollen's been out. I've been out in the woods a lot past few days. And I think it's getting to me. I can see all the big old pollen stuff coming up on the pine trees, and air quality is just terrible. You put on a headlamp at night around here, around this time of year, and you'll see just stuff just flying all over the air. It makes you not want to breathe. It makes you want to hold your breath and run through it. Just get away. But it's everywhere. That's the thing. You can't get away from it. If you go outside, you can just see yourself breathing that stuff in. It's bad. It gets bad like that. But anyway, yeah. If you can't handle it, then stay inside. That's all I can tell anybody about that. All right. So anyway, I want to talk about this Betz Sphere, okay? This thing, man, it was one of these weird things that showed up on Earth, and very few people got the chance to mess around with it, and really try to see what it was about. I know J. Allen Hynek was one of the people, I believe, that got to go check this thing out. And, he's the one that started the whole Project Blue Book thing, and with the government and stuff like that, the CIA's little deal or whatever. Anyway, hey, also, before I get too far into this, I want to talk about that real quick. I changed my picture. I just saw it and remembered it. It's just one of these cool little concept creatures that my friend Leonard came up with and sent me. I really, really liked it. It was really well done. And I decided to display that one for a little while because it was really cool. So I just wanted to make sure I said something about it before I forgot. Because I will forget if I don't do things right when they come into my mind. Yeah. I'm one of those people. Let's get back to this. Okay. So anyway, Dr. Hynek, he actually saw this thing. But the Betz family, okay, they got a call about a fire, a brush fire, I think it was, like on their property, and it was in Fort George, Florida. Fort George Island, Florida. I think it was Fort George. I've seen St. George too, but pretty sure it was there. It was near Jacksonville, Florida. And anyway, they had this fire, and so they wanted to go down there and check it out and see if it was worse than they were making it sound and whatever. And so they got down there, and their son Terry Betz noticed this big silver, like shiny orb, like a ball, sitting there in the woods, like around where this fire was. So he got it, and they were intrigued by it. They were like, it was just so out of place, and he decided to take it with him. So he took it and put it in his room in their house, and it sat there for a few days, like on the windowsill or something. And then one day he had a friend over, and he was playing the guitar. And when he hit certain notes on the guitar, the thing started like vibrating, and it started moving on its own, and it was almost like the guitar activated it. It's really strange. So this guy was like, they none of them knew what to do with it, and they decided that, I mean, his dad, I think, was trying to figure stuff out with it, like doing his own experiments. He like popped it with a hammer and stuff, and I think all it did was, ring out, and nothing happened. And then it would just, they said if you rolled it, like actually took it and rolled it across the floor, like to somebody else, they said it would go for a distance, and then it would stop and vibrate, and then come back to the person who rolled it. Even if there were a few other people around, it would go right back. It had like this intelligence about it. They tried, they put it like on a table, and when they'd put it on a table, it would roll around the table, and it would go straight up to the edge, but it would never roll off of the edge. It's almost like it had a consciousness about it that wouldn't let it do something, like we have an instinct not to, well, most of us have an instinct not to like go climbing up on skyscrapers and stuff, because obviously that decreases your chance of survival on Earth. But it's like that thing had that kind of consciousness. It's really weird. Okay. This is the thing, though. Other people witnessed this stuff. So it wasn't just this family's word. They ended up getting so weirded out with everything because some high strangeness started with this. Like they started getting doors in their house, started like shutting on their own. And this ball would just like move places, and they ended up starting to keep it in a bag, I believe it was, in the house, like a bowling ball bag, so it wouldn't go rolling around and run away from them or something. It's really a weird thing. They also said that there was a test where they actually turned a table up vertically, and it rolled up the table, like completely defying gravity. So that's the other thing. Like this thing was doing things that were not physically possible. The laws of physics were being broken by this little metal sphere, pretty much. So they had doctors come in, like several, other than Hynek. There was Carl Wilson, Dr. Carl Wilson. I think he was like actually the first one to take a look at it. I want to say the Navy came and looked at it, but the original person that got it all started, I believe, was just the cameraman from the newspaper down there in Jacksonville somewhere, and one of the newspapers. I think it was Jacksonville's newspaper, because the family ended up calling them, and they sent a cameraman down there to take pictures of this thing. And when he got down there, he said there's like a whole quote about what he said it did. And it was like it rolled 12 feet, stopped, then turned to the left, rolled 2 feet that way, stopped, turned to the right, rolled 3 feet, did an arch, and then came back to my feet. Like it was weird. Like it's something along those lines. May not be verbatim what I just said, but it's close, I'm sure. All right. But yeah, it was crazy. This thing was it was intelligently controlled somehow. Don't know if it had its own intelligence, like if it had some kind of software that or some kind of program that allowed it to have a sense of artificial intelligence, maybe that it could make decisions. I don't know. It could sense things. But see, once the cameraman actually, I know that a while back I saw a, I think it was some kind of documentary on this, and I don't know where it was, but I saw Linda Moulton Howe on it, and she was actually talking about, I think she was one of the people that went down to actually see this thing. I want to say that she was, but I couldn't really find much information on that as far as her having any, contribution to this. But I'm almost 100% sure she said she actually went down there in the 70s. This was in 1974 when they found this. I think she went down there and saw this thing. I'm almost 100% sure I heard her say that. Anyway, but this orb, I mean, stuff was just weird with it. They started hearing organ music too at night a lot of the time. They were like some kind of organ sounding stuff would start coming from the ball pretty much. I think that's what they determined. It was like from the ball. So it was doing all this weird stuff. And I don't know what were the notes? That's what I want to know. I want to know what notes this thing played and what notes were played on the guitar. I would like to know that too, to activate this thing, because that's pretty much what it seems like happened. It seems like notes were used to activate it, and it was responding to noise, to sound. So some sort of auditory command, maybe. Maybe he just happened to hit the right sequence, or maybe it was just an easy sequence to hit, like maybe, an easy progression or something that most songs start with. Who knows? It could have been something like that. Anything could have done it. But music is one of those things that's strange. It transcends all the communication barriers. You can always communicate through music, with music, because music is the same universally. Sound is the same. When you don't have a specific articulation to it, and it's just a sound, a straight sound, that you can always communicate using that form of, I don't want to say verbalization, but that form of noise. It's like music is just one of those things I think has a place everywhere in all walks of life. All of them. Even animals, probably. I'm sure there's some sort of music going on, some sort of sound. I mean, it's proven, that some animals, that's all they do. Like birds, obviously, but whales and stuff, I know they have certain frequencies and things like that they can communicate with. Maybe it's like that with other beings, intelligent life, like extraterrestrials or aliens or something. Maybe music is the key to communication. And it's just like that movie, the Close Encounters of the Third Kind movie, where they communicate with the extraterrestrials through that series of notes played on the keyboard. Well, the extraterrestrials played those also. And I I really think that there is some kind of like insider information that goes into movies like that, and I've heard that specifically about that movie. I've also heard that about Star Trek specifically. That Gene Roddenberry had specific knowledge that came from certain organizations, in order to make things accurate in the series. And I think it was the same way with Spielberg for that movie. There's a lot of weird things. I think they I think there's a lot more that's true that people assume isn't. I'll put it that way. I think we see a lot of the things that the way they actually are, and people just assume they're so outlandish that they're not true. And that's kind of how I've changed a lot in how I've looked at things over the past few years. After seeing what I've seen these Bigfoot do, I cannot tell you how in the world these things happen. But it's changed the way I see a lot of things. And I do believe that, well, I'm getting way too deep into this, man, and not on the sphere. I'm getting away from that. I'll do another one on that kind of stuff because it really is weird what all this consciousness is that we don't know about. I'm just going to leave it at that, or that we do know about and we don't think it is that way. That's a lot of the problem, I think. I think we've been shown a lot of stuff, but we don't believe it, or a lot of people don't believe it. They think it is all made up, it's all fiction. There's no ounce of reality in it, no truth to it whatsoever. I don't think that's true with a lot of that stuff. And a lot of what I was talking about, that's why. But anyway, I have talked about a lot of that. Actually, in the last episode I did on the cloaking, which was received a lot better than I thought. The thing is, I don't want to be too specific about what what I know about, because there's certain things that you just don't really want to talk about sometimes because they're way out there, way, way out there. And you have to really have an open mind. And I know a lot of you do, but you really do have to accept it. And it changes a lot of the way you see everything. And that's the big problem with a lot of people. They haven't had these experiences and they just cannot believe things like that happen. And it takes seeing it to know. And it's just insane. And you have to really put yourself out there to get in those positions to where you will see it. So it's a lot of personal struggle in a way to do it, to actually learn these things. You have to overcome there's a lot of fear that you have to overcome for sure. A lot of uncertainty. And once you do that, things get a little bit easier. But it takes a while to do that. You're dealing with something you don't know about, that you don't know. You might have been okay those first few times, but what about this one? That's what always goes through your head until you get used to things and learn things. But anyway, I'm gonna get back on the sphere. All right. Here we go. So high strangeness was going on. This thing had some kind of responsiveness to solar energy too. Like if it rolled out into the sun, it seemed like the sun would actually charge it up and it would be more vibrant, I guess, do more stuff. And I don't know, maybe it sped up too. I can't remember what all they said, but it did seem like it had some kind of reaction to the sun. Well, after these articles were published on it, the Navy came down and wanted to inspect it. So they didn't try to take it or anything. They just wanted to look at it, and the family obliged. So the Navy took it and x-rayed it. And during the x-rays, they couldn't get the normal ones to work. So they got some kind of high-powered, high-resolution type of X-ray to go and finally get beam into it, and they saw that it was made up of two spheres within the original sphere. So there were multiple spheres, basically, and there were poles. Okay, there were 4 poles, 2 negative and 2 positive. And that was confirmed by like some other doctor. I think it was, I had it somewhere, Dr. Albert Harder. So Dr. Harder, he like examined this thing, and he actually examined it after Dr. Carl Wilson examined it. Carl Wilson spent like 6 hours with it, I think, after or maybe while the Navy had it. But the other one examined it like later on after the Navy and Dr. Wilson had looked at it. But I think it was Dr. Wilson that confirmed that it had these poles, and it also had some kind of magnetic field, like radiation coming from it. Okay, the Navy, like, they got all the measurements and things like that. It was like 7.96 inches in diameter. It weighed like 21.34 pounds, and it could withstand something like 2,300 pounds of pressure per square inch. So I guess 2,300 psi coming down on it. That's what it would take to crush it, or something. that's crazy. And it was, I mean, that's a stout ball. But it weighed, it was heavy. I mean, 21 and a half or 22 pounds almost. No, I guess 21 pounds, but whatever. Yeah, just a little bit over. So it was heavy. I mean, this is a weird thing to find out in the woods. And this ball, there's not many pictures of it, really. There are pictures, but it's a very limited amount. I'll try to put some on the end of the video. But it's weird. There's a video, though, that I found that exists of like an interview with, I think it was the father of the kid who found it. The kid was like 21, I think, when he found it or something. I don't know. It may have been him. But the sphere is actually sitting there in the room with him in this video. But anyway, this guy, man, found that thing, and I don't know. It's like they wanted to take it, but they let the Navy let them keep it. And that's something that's weird, too. And it wasn't until after that Dr. Harder came and checked it out that other government entities decided they wanted to check it out too, and take it and check it out and probably keep it forever and ever. But this was weird because that other doctor that examined it confirmed everything else. And he also said something like it was defying the laws of physics. It had some kind of control through an unidentified pattern. Okay, so you've got this ball that has some kind of intelligence, and he also thought it was like a doomsday device. That's what his initial report was, that this thing was a doomsday device. It was gonna, if you had drilled into it or something, you could have blown up the whole world or something like that. That's what he started saying about it. The core, the shell, the whole thing was actually, it was a 1/4 inch thick, they said, and it was made of what seemed like stainless steel, except that it had some unknown element added to it that made it slightly different from stainless steel. So it actually wasn't stainless steel, but it was highly similar to it. It just had some kind of alien property to it that you couldn't determine. So that's strange too. Like, everything about this, if it's all true, everything about this states that it has extraterrestrial origin. I mean, that's all evidence of it. It has some kind of intelligence. It has some kind of unknown material. I mean, it's just like that, of course. Yeah. So this guy actually, that doctor, the Dr. Harder, he's the one that got this thing on the major radar, I guess. I guess his findings, once they published them, are what really spurred them into coming and getting this ball. So what they did was they came down and asked them to give it up, and who knows what happened, but right after that guy published that story, that was it. Like, you didn't really hear much about the family or the orb, the sphere. I mean, you didn't hear much about that at all. So, what was going on? Did they disappear? I don't know anything about what happened to them afterward, because you really can't find much on it. So, if anybody does know, if you've heard anything about this and know what happened to the Betz family afterward, let me know, because I can't remember seeing anything about it, and I couldn't really find much about, the surviving members of the family saying anything about this throughout the years. But this thing exists somewhere still. That's the thing about it. It's still on Earth somewhere. What's it doing? Why is it here? Who sent it here? I mean, have they ever figured any of this out? They haven't told us about it, if they have. And a lot of people have forgotten about this. That's another thing. It's not been a big, heavily publicized story. It's not something that's been talked about a ton. And yeah, I think it really should be. I think it should be brought up a lot more, especially now. Now that things are getting a little more interesting as far as disclosure goes, I think that they need to be re-examining this thing. I mean, I'm sure they've already, done everything in the world they've wanted to it within the last 40 years, but you know what I mean. I think we should know what's on our planet too that might not be from here. I think we have that right. I think you guys think so too. But anyway, no, it was crazy though. I mean, that Dr. Wilson, he had even found radio waves coming from this thing. So there were radio waves being projected from this sphere, and they had to be probably projecting somewhere and being received by something. And that's what makes a lot of people theorize that it is a recording device that was actually sent here. And it's like relaying information back to whomever sent it here. Who knows? And it could be, it could be in cahoots with the Black Knight satellite. I mean, that thing's been circling the Earth for 13,000 years or something crazy. That's what they say. I don't know, but it could have something to do with that. Whoever's put that here. I mean, there's a lot of pictures and stuff that people have gotten over the years of that satellite, that Black Knight satellite, and nobody's fessed up to putting it up there. I don't think anybody ever will. But I don't know. I'm just theorizing, with all that. I don't want to say it has any relation to it whatsoever, but it's beaming something up to somebody if it's emitting radio waves. I would imagine it's like there's some kind of transmission going on if that's happening. And it's got the poles. Why would it have poles? I know with magnetic energy, it would probably be ideal to have some kind of directional pole, but polar direction, I guess. But I don't know. There's a lot of weird things about that ball in particular. So why wouldn't a government come and confiscate that and say, if you talk about it anymore, you won't be around anymore, or whatever, I don't know. Maybe that's what happened. Maybe it isn't. Who knows? I don't. But, there's another weird phenomenon that goes on with rock spheres that are found in, like, a lot of them have been found in Costa Rica. They've also found some in, like, Bosnia, I think it was, like out in the forests out there. But they found them in the jungles of Costa Rica, and they're like perfect spheres. They're 96% spherical, so it's almost perfect. And they're found in primitive areas where, they had primitive tribes and primitive civilizations, and they would be like, chiseling stuff. There's no way they would be able to create a perfect sphere in that time, with what they had available. But there's this theory that they were actually molded balls. I don't know if they've even proven that. They may have, so don't quote me on this, but there's this explanation, I should say, supposed explanation, that they would have been molded with some kind of liquid. I guess some sort of liquid stone type, concrete type material, I don't know, or whatever substance, and they would go into this mold and create the perfect spherical shape that you'd see on these things. And there's been tons of them found. They found a lot of them. But why are those here? Why is it a sphere? And they've got some of these on display, and you would think that it would be made by like some sort of machinery. That could do this. Something with precision. Major precision. It would be a very daunting task to make one of these things as perfect as they are with a chisel, or however you wanted to do it by hand. It would be near impossible. So that's why these things are so interesting. And this sphere, the Betz sphere, was the same way. It was like perfect, just perfectly round. I've heard that it also had a triangle etched on it somewhere, like a small triangle etched into the surface. I don't know if that's true. I've only heard that a few places, but I have heard it. So I don't know about that. If any of you guys have ever heard that, and it's like true or whatever, let me know. I would be interested to know if that has any validity to it, because that's weird too. Why would you have a triangle like that? Like, triangles, they pop up throughout history in a lot of, there's a lot of extraterrestrial stuff that revolves around the Triforce thing, and all that. It's just a weird shape. It really is. There's something about the threes and the triangle, and for other, like, if this thing was extraterrestrial, other civilizations are using that shape. That's just strange. It is weird how shapes are like a thing in other places just like they are here. They have to have designated shapes in order to create the crafts that we see. And that's what makes me wonder, like, how different they really are. Because they have, okay, we have something to relate to every shape that we see, as far as an extraterrestrial vehicle goes, like the Tic Tac, or a flying saucer, or a cigar shape, or a triangle, we have all these shapes that we can, all these objects or whatever that we can relate them to. So it's like we have the same selection of shape. I hope you guys can kind of see where I'm getting with that. I might have gotten too far off the rails with that. I don't know. Anyway, I'm just saying, like, we may be more alike in terms of the way we have our systems. There may be a lot more in common than we may assume. I don't know. I'm just theorizing here again. So, whatever. But, there's that new thing that they found. I think it was in 2017, Azuma. I think that's what it's called. And they found it. They first noticed it in Hawaii at some observatory there, and it's some kind of asteroid that's traveling through our solar system, but it's not anything shaped like an asteroid from our solar system. They are pretty sure it came from outside our solar system. So it could have come from any other different world, I mean, it's just crazy. The coloring, I know they said that it, I think they call it 2017U1 or something like that. But the coloring of this thing is, it's like an indicator that it's been out there for a long time, actually. So it's traveled who knows how far, but it's on its way out of our solar system now. But they've been able to study it and observe it and take lots of pictures of it for a few years. So it's pretty interesting, though, because there's another thing that lends credence to the theories that there are other worlds out there. And I mean, if you think about it, okay, we have a sun, that's the closest star to us. I mean, and it's a relatively small star. So I want to say it's even like a dwarf star or something. And there are just tons of stars out there, but we can't get to a single one of them. Tell me how crazy that is. It's almost like we can see all the other worlds, but we cannot go to them because we are too primitive in our way of thinking. We're still thinking in terms of rockets and not terms of bending the air to make a distance shorter. That's where we're at. I don't know. That's just that's just where I go with all this. But let me know what you guys think. That's what I'm really interested in, is seeing how you guys perceive all this, and all this stuff that I'm not sure about. Feel free to update me on it. Okay, I just I go from memory, and I'm not gonna say I have the most amazing one in the world. I mean, I do retain information pretty easily, but I can't say that I convey everything completely 100%. So if you can't handle that, sorry. Anyway, I don't know. It's been a rough week, really rough week for me, and I haven't uploaded as much as I wanted to, so I apologize for that. But I'm gonna get back into that because I always miss it when I go a few days without it. It's like it's, I guess, therapy for me. I tell you guys about all my problems, and you just help me along. I'm just kidding. But I do enjoy it. Anyway, let me know what you guys think about all this. I'm going to go ahead and take off. So, anyway, everybody have a good week. And I'll be back with you guys really soon. I have emails that I haven't responded to yet, and I'm going to. I've just been pretty busy. And I've got a lot of other stuff that I'm planning on doing soon. So, you guys just please stick around. And I'll try to make it worth your while. So anyway, take it easy, everybody, and stay safe. And let me know what you think about the Betz Sphere and all the other spheres in the world that came from other places. I want to know about those too. All right. Till next time, take it easy. I'll see you guys soon.